with Storm here this weekend, and he's off to a pretty tough start with Sneak and Show.
Yeah, so this has been what Ross considered to be a gambit this year, and I don't think it's paying off. His mainstay decks have been Elves and Storm, which actually both were well positioned this weekend. He is on Sneak and Show, and you're absolutely right. It's been tough for him.
For Logan, another player who's in the Players' Championship yet again, Logan had a great run through the back end of Season 4 to qualify. He's on Grixis Delver here this week, and he is also 0-2. But keep in mind, even if these players do lose this match, they're not out of the tournament. There's still plenty of Magic left to be played, and if you are still in the tournament, you can still win the tournament. Logan down to 16 from 2 copies of Gataxian Probe. Now he'll play a copy of Flooded Strand. He's got an idea of what Ross Merriam is working with. We will have an idea soon enough. It looks like Logan's going to sacrifice this fetch land, fall down to 15, and we'll see what he wants to do on his first turn.
Yeah, for the player that loses this match, it means that they're going to have to hope that their modern deck can let them avoid elimination later today.
He's going to search up a copy of Volcanic Island. More updates here for you guys. Jim Davis does win his match over Alex Pistecki 2-0. So for Jim, he picks up his first win on the weekend with Sultai Delver. And then for Joe Lissette coming into this weekend, he wanted to get back to the Players' Championship so bad. Prove once again that a player from California can certainly get back. He won his match over Jonathan Morowski. That's Miracles versus Elves. That's a 3-0 start for Joe.
And we were talking about this last round. You can metagame all you want, but when you look at our 3-0s, Joe Lissette with Miracles and Caleb Shear with Storm, sometimes the metagame really doesn't matter, and it's the experience that pays off.
A ponder here for Logan. He's going to shuffle pretty quickly.
Logan Mize and Ross Merriam, both heading into this event, I had tagged as I thought players who were really looking for a breakout performance this weekend. They both were in last year's Players' Championship, and I think that really ignited a fire among each of them. Having watched them this year, they really have put in the hours and the practice to, I think, make that breakthrough to the next level. Now, 0-2 has not been a great start for either of them, but they're not out yet, and I still would not be surprised to see the winner of this game turn things around and make a deep run.
The draw there for Merriam appears to be a Spell Pierce. He'll just play a basic island and pass the turn back. He's got Force of Will in hand. I believe a copy of Show and Tell. Unclear if he's actually got something to put in play in Show and Tell, but we will find out soon enough as we head back Mize's way.
Well, it'll be hard. Mize has a great wall of counter magic.
Like a Gataxian Probe. This will let us see exactly what Ross is working with. You see the Show and Tell, the City of Traders, a Spell Pierce, a Ponder. Let's make it 2 Spell Pierces along with a Force of Will and an Island.
Well, that's going to be tough. So what Sneak and Show actually does better than some of these other combo decks, or things like Storm, is that rather than setting up the combo turn through discard, like we saw Caleb do, it tries to set up the counter turn through offensive counter spells, and then using its cards like Lotus Petal and City of Traders to establish a mana advantage on the combo turn.
For Logan, it's a Delver of Secrets. And he'll just pass the turn back. Shields are down. Merriam will draw a card. Now, Logan putting the shields down, saying, you don't have anything to put on the battlefield yet with Show and Tell.
Yeah, show me.
Yeah, you'd have to draw it. Scalding Tarn is the play here for Ross. He did not have that card when Logan looked with Gataxian Probe, so Logan knows that's his fresh draw step. And now here's a Ponder.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Ross is a little preemptive in showing the fetch land there. He probably wanted to play it after pondering. Now, that said, he was almost certainly going to do that, so not much of a foul here.
So the piece that Merriam is missing right now is just the big creature, perhaps even looking for a sneak attack. A lot of things will work with Show and Tell. As Ross will draw a card, picked up a copy of Brainstorm, Ponder done resolving, and now we head back Logan's way. Logan going to reveal Gataxian Probe with Delver's Secrets, so it will transform into Insectile Aberration.
Yeah, Logan, like I said before, has a great hand. Now he has the clock that he wants. There is still the weakness that he is going to get bullied on mana rather hard. So he has all these spells that look good here. But he's going to be bottlenecked on how many of them he can play. And Ross will make him pay for that.
Will this probe resolve?
Probably, yeah. There's no reason for not to. Ross doesn't want to crack that fetch land. It's too valuable with the Brainstorm in hand.
See 2 copies of Spell Pierce, City of Traders, Force of Will, Island, Show and Tell, and now a Brainstorm. Probe is going to resolve. Logan will draw. Logan's hand is relatively interactive right now. He did find a land here in Polluted Delta. He has a copy of Surgical Extraction in hand, 2 copies of Pyroblast. There's also a Daze hanging out over there, and he's got the necessary pressure to get going.
Yeah, a second land was really all that Logan needed here. Now we're on 2 or 3 counter spell territory.
Merriam's going to sacrifice the Scalding Tarn, fall down to 16. Ross still has plenty of life to work with, I would say. Has some time to try to sculpt a pretty solid hand.
Yeah, 2 Red Blasts and Days at the ready for Logan. It's going to be tough for Ross. You know, you look like he's safe. He's at 16. There's just a flipped Delver. But this game plan of Delver, of a 3-2 or an early clock plus a bunch of open mana from Delver, this is the spot that Logan wants to be in.
And this is kind of unique to me here, where we saw in just the last match with Caleb, oh, you've got a handful of permission? I'll work my way through that. And Ross has experience doing that because Ross used to play Storm. But he made the switch this weekend to Sneak and Show.
Well, I'll tell you, the decks that protect themselves with blue cards and the decks that protect themselves with black cards are quite different. I mean, take like even old Legacy decks, and we said like Storm versus High Tide, which are actually very similar combo decks, except that Storm is using Duresses and High Tide is using Flusterstorms. They play very different. And Sneak and Show is more in that High Tide category where, yeah, you're trying to counter the opponent's counters.
Another update here for you guys. Hunter Nance is going to win his match over Ali Antrazi 2-1. So Antrazi, our Season 2 Invitational champion, falls down to 0-3. The Legacy deck of choice there, Imperial Painter. It was a risky one, to be sure.
It was certainly the wild card. Ali has a lot of wild cards going into this weekend. I think when you looked at his deck lists, and we'll hopefully get to see more of them, he was going to win the tournament or flame out early.
Yeah. Another copy of Surgical Extraction to draw here for Mize. He'll come across here with the Insectile Aberration. Merriam going to fall down to 13.
A second Surgical is a little more than Logan would like here.
The one thing I kind of like about Surgical, because I don't think the second one's all that great, but the one thing that I kind of like about Surgical Extraction is like you get to see their hand. So
yes, that's good.
I think right now that's all Logan ever wants is to say, what the heck are you working with? Brainstorm's going to resolve pretty quickly. A Brainstorm, a Ponder, and I believe a Force of Will to draw.
So Ross is really well set up for the counter war, and he actually, I believe, has Gristlebrand in play. So we are almost at the point, and I think this is go. It's close, and it might not work. But from Ross's seat, things are not going to get much better.
Brainstorm done resolving. Merriam would like to untap and draw. And now here's a Surgical Extraction, I believe, on the upkeep.
Yeah, doesn't want to give Ross any of those cards back. Now, there's a risk here that you are shuffling Ross's deck for him.
Yeah, so I think that's kind of funny, right? Because there's an argument to say that Ross actually wants to draw one of these cards.
Right.
Because it might contribute to another blue card for Force of Will. Or there's the argument of Ross put back 2 pieces of garbage, and he really wants to shuffle.
But look at how well Ross has set up his hand here. So he has a City of Traders. That's lands 4 and 5. So he'll tap 3 of them to play Show and Tell, and he has the Gristlebrand. So he'll have 2 mana remaining, and he conveniently has a Spell Pierce, a Force of Will, and a blue card. So he has the combo plus 3 pieces of offensive counter magic.
Yeah.
That's a ton.
2 Forces, 2 Spell Pierces, mana to pay for Soft Permission, like a Daze, like a Spell Pierce, and we don't even know what his draw step's going to be. So that could be another blue card.
Well, Logan has 3 counter spells. You know, he had a Daze and 2 Red Blasts. But if Ross has 3 counter spells as well, Ross will actually win the counter war.
And if Gristlebrand gets on the battlefield, it's over. That's how this matchup typically works. It is rare that Grixis Delver has any way to get something like that off the battlefield.
Yeah, the fight is over getting it on the table. Once it's on the table, Logan has to burn out Ross that turn.
Merriam's draw Misty Rainforest. That one does not play much of a role in things right now.
Yeah, he would have liked to have had a better draw, but I think he had all the pieces he needed to win the counter war already, and we're going to see him go for it.
Show and Tell. For Mize, he'll play a copy of Pyroblast.
It's bad news for Mize. He's looked at Ross's hand, and I think he knows he's losing the counter war.
Here's a Spell Pierce. Now, keep in mind, this second copy of Surgical Extraction could really trip Merriam up, depending on how he sequences things. Because Logan could say, okay, Spell Pierce resolves on my Pyroblast, surgical it.
You're right. That would break. That we said. You're absolutely right.
It just depends on how Logan sequences things. Yep, so Pyroblast is going to resolve. Excuse me, Spell Pierce is going to resolve on Pyroblast, and now I think we might see the Surgical.
There's a danger here, though. If he Surgicals the way the second Spell Pierce, the one issue is that now Ross can pay for days because he has 1 blue up.
Very true.
So We go back to the board, and Ross is still winning the counter war because the third counter days no longer does anything.
Here's a surgical extraction from Logan. And it's going to target Spell Pierce.
If Ross pierces the surgical, he would lose on this fight.
Yeah,
but he's not going to.
Yeah, I would have been shocked if he did.
I suppose that there's really no reason.
Yeah.
I think both players, I mean, Ross's hand face up. Both players know the steps to this dance, but I think they're locked into doing it.
Ross says, "I'll shuffle the deck. You worry about the show and tell."
Yeah, you show me that I haven't just won the game.
It's a Pyroblast.
Well, I mean, this is Ross's whole plan. He's going to force.
Yeah, there's no stopping now. That's for sure.
And Ross should have it covered, but we'll just make sure it plays out that game. So a Pyroblast will be tried. Force of Will for the Pyroblast. Logan dazes the Force of Will, and as predicted, Ross pays. Everything said and done, show and tell now resolves.
What do you think Ross is going to bring? Oh, he's going to bring a Gristlebrand. Good choice.
He's going to bring Gristlebrand to show and tell. That's a good one. Yep.
Logan brings a Vendilion Click. He can target himself if he'd like to. Maybe try to get a little deeper in his deck.
The Delver of Secrets in his hand isn't doing anything. Ross's hand is just a Misty Rainforest.
Mm-hmm.
Logan knows that, so might as well target himself.
Yep, Delver to the bottom. Gristlebrand on the battlefield.
But no bounce, and Logan's draw a bit off that V-click is just a little late. He hits Cabal Therapy.
Yeah, a little late to the party there for Mize.
It would have been great the last turn.
I think his draw step for the turn was a copy of Force of Will. And now the cards are on the table here for both players.
Logan has to look to see if he can somehow race. Yes, Ross will gain 7. Logan can deal... Oh, he has to chump block even. He's at 6.
Yep. And with Merriam, his life total is pretty high. He's at 12. He'll untap with a Gristlebrand and take a draw step here. And now it's time to attack with a 7/7. And as you said, Logan has to chump block because he's at 6.
Interesting to think that Ross hasn't dealt any damage yet this game, but Logan is at 6.
A lot of surgicals, a lot of Gataxian probes.
Some fetches. It's 3 probes, 2 surgicals, and 4 fetches. Yeah.
And Ross Merriam is going to win this match here over Logan Mize. 2-1. Sneak and Show will take care of Grixis Delver, and Merriam is on the board here with the win for Logan Mize. He will 0-3 his group, and that means he's got to get ready for Modern play, where these players will now kind of move into their respective brackets. We'll have some players in the Battle for Buys group. We'll have other players in the Play to Stay group, and